we don't have chat open, so this has been a really fun show. So if you guys can hear us, I'd really, really appreciate it if you would let us know that everything is working. So we can be heard, Outcast?
Okay.
Foxhole game. And that'd be really, really good if you can hear us. This is all we're going to have for this week. There's going to be no fancy transitions or anything because we had to literally set up a new scene. So what I'm going to say is that I'm Matt, this is HB, as you all know, and this is Mark. I'm going to hand it off to HB while I set some stuff up still, but he's going to talk and introduce everything, and then he's going to hand it off to Mark at some point.
Sure.
Okay, well, this is a little bit rough today, but I think we're going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Actually, I have a couple of just small little points before we start. First of all, sorry for the late stream. Everything just kind of blew up in flames at the last minute. This laptop started to melt down, and then we had to reinstall all the software on the other laptop, and that one wasn't working. We had to restart a few times, and fortunately, got delayed, but we're here now, so... Anyways,
we made it. If things are too quiet or whatever, just tell us to talk louder because that's literally the only option that we have right now.
Sorry, getting back to the two things that I was gonna mention. One, just so you guys know, 0022 update won't be out this week, so there will be no update this week. We're gonna probably see that next week. So the other thing is, some of us are going to be heading down to PAX South on Friday. So if any of you guys are going to be at PAX South, stop by our booth. I'll post the booth number later on the Discord. So if you guys are down in San Antonio or you're going to be at the show, make sure you stop by to say hi. And other than that, do you want to start getting into the community highlights?
Sure, let's go for it. Yeah, this week was really nice. I particularly enjoyed, you guys know I'm a sucker for comics and illustrations, so when I saw that we had two comics, I was extremely happy, to be honest. And I think both of them are fantastic in completely different ways, but both of them are fantastic. So the first one was Lurkas that did it. He's once again drawing on the style of Foxhole. It's a comic that already existed by Kim Lamati, as he posted the original, like the name of the original, and it's a well-known gag, but it was so good and it fits so damn well in the Foxhole universe. I was really happy, and his drawings are getting way better. I'm really impressed, to be honest, with this comic.
I kind of feel it's not just this comic, but the comics in general.
Yeah, I like. First of all, I like the humor that the people are doing, like injecting the little snippets of the awkward things in the game, and
they're basically making fun of our flaws.
Yeah, but it's fantastic.
Our bugs are.
I still, one of my favorite ones, the one that they encounter water, and then somebody just dips the foot, and then the water just dies, and the backpack floats. It's fun. I really, really like that. This one fits very well, and so the next one.
Yeah.
This one was by Bishop Ark. I'm sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. And I like this one not just because it's so. Our game is so weird. You find this pile of scrap and then you find a little screw in the middle, and he's making fun of that, and I love that. But no writings needed, anything. So, and I think
I like the design of the character.
It's so good. This remind me of a different artist. I'm trying to remember the name. I seen the one with the I see the line in the middle. I'm trying to remember who's.
Is it like Dilbert?
So yeah.
I feel like it's like Dilbert or the cartoons of
It's a Saturday morning cartoon, Sunday cartoon or something like that.
That little screw icon. Was that actually made for salvage, or was that one of those things where it was made for something?
No, this was made for metal
right?
some time ago.
Back in the day.
Actually, there is something interesting there. A little bit on one of our early prototypes, we actually had. I'm not sure if we mentioned this before because we always talk about this stuff, but we actually had 3 different types of resources.
Yeah.
In the early prototypes, we had wood, metal, and cloth.
And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, remember when we saw that data mine that people said, that people mentioned, like there's somebody posted on Imager a data mine of several of our assets and stuff like that. Remember that?
Yeah.
And somebody commented like, wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Why is it the salvage looks like logs and it's called wood, and like that's why the name confused.
So
That's why.
well, it's funny because we actually ended up like swapping around a lot of the icons because during the early prototypes we didn't have time to like make all these icons, and right now even we're still kind of like stuck with some of these. So
Like if we have to pick something, we're gonna pick an icon.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like
but there was
it's
something
gonna be-
interesting because the building materials was the wood,
Yeah.
the salvage was the metal, and the cloth was the soldier supplies.
Yeah.
So we
Cloth-
said
cloth-
But
metal
everything
and
now
wood.
is completely changed.
but now it's all changed.
Cloth, metal, and wood used to be the three
Main one, yeah.
Like you-
materials.
I remember we used to have to walk up to like a box of cloth
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
use your hammer on it, and then you
Actually,
get your
I think at the
cloth.
time you pressed a button and your guy went like this for a while.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah,
remember that
he
one,
did the-
yeah,
And then
yeah.
he did the
and
shimmy.
it was like,
Yeah, it was,
okay, I got this cloth.
It was. I kind of wish. You know what would be kind of
one
fun?
of my most
if,
proud animations.
It'd actually be kind of cool if like one day. I know we're not gonna have time for this, but it would be cool if like we showed off one of those versions. I mean, I'm sure we saved those builds somewhere.
I have almost all. Well, I have all the engines with all the files and everything on my like all backup. We
Oh
could
really?
like just
Like the assets or like the
it's
actual
the
game?
the whole engine folder with a whole game
Oh,
and all
okay,
of it.
yeah.
It's- We can
I
probably
know
just
we
spin
did-
it back.
We could, because we saved some of the server builds, and it was really interesting because we were having like a discussion this morning about you know, changes to like the salvaging mechanic and stuff, and it kind of like brought up this like earlier prototype, which we did have all these different types of salvage on the map, and there was a lot of frustrations actually that came from that.
Oh god, yes.
It was kind of interesting, but all these weird.
But imagine how that would be with like 60 players instead of.
Yeah, because I remember when
Because we had 8 and it was hard as
we
hell.
had 8, and it was really weird because it'd be like, okay, we've captured like the metal field now.
Now nobody
You
else
guys
is-
can't make weapons. There's
Nobody
somebody
else is
running
got-
around with these like pistols, while the other side be freaking like dominating them with like rifles
Yeah.
and everything. It was really
Yeah, it was
it
really,
kinda
really
funny.
terrible.
Yeah, I think
But we
It
got a
wasn't-
lot of
it
players.
wasn't-
It
it
might be
wasn't-
completely different.
it's kind of funny, but anyways, that's kind of
Yeah, completely off
little
topic.
off topic
But
from
those
this,
comics
this is
reminded
really
us.
funny. Yeah, it's really cool.
What else do we have today? This week? Oh, we had. Oh, so these were
Final
cool. I
first.
think that these are the new 501st squad propaganda posters. So they kind of like got into the game of doing propaganda posters. We had other propaganda posters, but I chose to feature them because they were the new ones in the game, and all of them were done by one particular player, Lightning 4231.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool. He got like he got some pretty cool images where to put it, and I think they got quickly in the spirit of the clans fighting for people. I like that.
I want to know what those original paintings are.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like I've seen a lot of people like they find these images, and I think they are posters from the era, you know, from World War I, World War II. And
Yeah.
the paintings are fantastic on itself.
Hey Matt, you actually can't switch this away for 1 second, right? Because I did
I
want to
can,
message
I
everybody.
can.
Do you not want to risk it?
We can.
Because
It's
if
just
not,
you guys are not going to see anything for a second. So
I just
3,
forgot that because of all
2, 1. We're just going to switch
okay,
it off.
yeah. I just want to
So we're still here.
yeah. I just want to
You
make
guys should still be able to hear us.
a quick announcement here.
You
which,
just cannot see us
'cause I know some people kind of like
live now,
Live
now.
not just at 2 p.m.
now.
So
we talk. Okay,
we
there
apologize, but technical difficulties means we had to go
There.
and use all new tools in order to do this.
We go. Okay, there we go.
So we're gonna come back.
It's back now. Thank you. I just
Um,
want to let everyone know on the Discord that the stream has
It's
finally
going on.
started. So, yeah.
Uh,
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Rip stream.
What else we have? What else we have?
Well, there was this walled off latch,
Oh yeah.
which is kind of interesting.
Oh, this was
Yeah.
neat. Actually, I saw this. I usually don't see stuff that goes in the community highlights.
This was in a
until
practice.
now.
Yeah.
This is in a practice.
This
world, right?
the practice mode is evolved into an interesting beast.
I think because it takes place in Callahan's Passage, right?
And I think that one of the cool things is that the practice mode right now, in general, like not even in regards to this one, is that people are less stressed into finishing the war and getting something.
Yeah.
So things get like they take time and develop. In the end, in my opinion, like the practice mode is in a way a little bit more akin to what we want of the wars taking a long time.
Right.
Of course, there's the other problems with it, and like they. But it's so you see these giant constructions. This last week we had the minefields.
Oh yeah,
that was insane.
I actually didn't know too much about that. Like what happened? I kind of heard about it on the Discord, but I didn't actually
outside the warden's bases. There were like rows and rows and rows of mines that would kill, of course, anybody that would venture nearby, and it was just like. I think it was like 3 rows of mines going all around these gigantic walls. It was freaking fantastic. I don't know how many mines there were. There were like probably certainly hundreds.
And it's good to know that the server
didn't crash. Like, and that was a war that was going on for what 5 days or something like that, like the same war. Yeah. So that was, and it only really ended because we updated the server.
Yeah. No,
so it was really fun. I'm really enjoying seeing what's happening right now. Though, like especially sometimes in practice wars, that they take the time, they build these fantastic constructions and like building up their defenses. Right. That's really really cool for me.
There's kind of like less of a pressure to have to finish the war.
Yeah.
Because
so they take their time.
I mean, that almost makes you like feel. What would it happen if, like, there was still the pressure, but then you kind of knew you wouldn't be able to like end it after one day because the world was too large or it just wasn't possible, right? So you kind of get the bit of both. You do get the pressure if someone is leading the charge, you can accomplish something, but it doesn't. The thing you accomplish, I think this is one of the key things. Is like the thing you're accomplishing is not finishing the war. The thing you're accomplishing.
It's a defense in a warfare.
Exactly. You're taking a step
either by defense or by building up offensive structures.
Yeah. And I'm ready to go like off topic, so I'm not going to. Let's just continue talking because I can talk about that stuff.
Yeah. This actually seemed like a cool video for the bits that I.
Yeah,
this was an assault.
Yeah, this was another cool video that was during a practice war, right?
Another thing that I'm seeing, like I'm gonna go off topic again. I'm sorry, because I'm seeing this assault that I think this was a. Who was it? I think is this Lurka's video? I'm not. I don't remember exactly whose video this is. Remley's.
It's Remley's, yeah.
I'm seeing a lot, and I saw it this week. It's gonna be on the next. I'm probably gonna put it on the next highlight as well. I know. Is that I'm seeing videos from the different communities that are entering our game more. So last week we had some cool Russian clans videos that popped up.
The RCF, right?
Yeah, the RCF. Yeah. And now this week I just saw one from a Korean streamer. He had a whole platoon with him.
Oh yeah.
And it was really nice. So I like the fact that I know some people complain about chats, and we're trying to accommodate everybody by having chat filters and things like that if you don't want to see languages that are not yours. But I particularly like the fact that we have more global community and having players throughout the game, sometimes even without being able to talk to each other. I know that we know that talking is very important for strategic reasons, but people can still help each other with like just by building radio towers and advanced forward bases or defenses and things like that. And seeing the videos from different communities, it makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can someone explain to me what this was?
I was just gonna say I was about to say like we probably don't have time to go through all the videos.
No.
But I don't know what this is.
So this is one of the Russian videos, and they were discussing what is underneath Lockman Lake. Is it a monster? Is it? It was the whole. Is a whole mystery of what is.
Just dig it up and find out. Huh?
What is underneath Lockman Lake? I understand zero Russian, but I was getting like trying to Google translate some things, and this is a guy just entering and listening to the sounds.
What is under Locan Lake, Matt?
Great question. Hopefully, you guys will find out one day.
No, I did not, Whiskers.
Okay. I do want to give a really quick call out to this. video, sort of.
Oh, Thunder Gods?
Yeah.
The strategy video?
I think some people find these videos like maybe not as like exciting when you're just kind of staring at the map, but I personally love them. I personally love it when it's just like, this is what happened, and it's just all from the perspective of like the map. That's almost one of the things that like I wanted to see at like the start of the project. It's sort of like seeing like the grand strategy and someone like talking about the story of the war, right? That's like the exciting part of the game, is like the story of the war. So I just wanted to give a shout out to this video.
I just want to say I usually post a lot of those videos on my social media, and they usually get pinged a lot. So
Yeah.
I think there is some interest even from people, because I think a lot of people don't understand the game, so those videos help to make it clear.
It's kind of weird because you're staring at a map, especially that recent one with the Crazy Chicken.
Yeah.
Posted that video, which was mostly
tutorial help, or
no, the one from the perspective of the map, right?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a bunch on the map, and then
Yeah.
he switched.
Yeah.
But,
Cool. I guess we'll move on to
I think we need to see this Wheelbarrow meme.
Oh yeah. This was
You need to explain this to me.
okay. So this was what happened. Who was it? I think it was Rick.
I don't get
He
this,
he created a mock-up of something that he wanted to see in Foxhole, which was a wheelbarrow. Unbeknownst to him, that we already had wheelbarrows before at some point in our game, like a long time ago. And we took them out for different technical reasons. We might even someday even put them back, maybe. But he created a wheelbarrow, and Pajama Boy was very quickly. He showed a mock-up of what it would be like in the game, a 3D.
yeah.
But then people start discussing what are the advantages of having a wheelbarrow, and a huge conversation. And they start finding out these images from World War One and World War Two, or even other places around the world that people had like no resources, and they start mounting things on wheelbarrows and also shopping carts for some reason.
Well, like this is a real thing.
It's
or-
a real thing, like people mounting like machine guns. There's this image of like just like the bottom part of a wheelbarrow, so without the actual the basket in a way, and it's just like this huge machine gun on top of it. So you control it from the back with like a huge wheel in front. It's weird as hell. And then they start discussing, and what became the ultimate mounted weaponry was the wheelbarrow with the machine gun.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was.
stabilization being particular.
I just thought it was funny as hell.
Well, like unfortunately, the wheelbarrow has kind of been like cursed for us.
Yeah, every
'Cause-
time we put it in, it would make the game.
Well, there was
cause
one.
havoc.
There was literally one patch, one of the updates, I think in the dev branch or something, or some like early notes or something. We were actually saying that the wheelbarrow was going in, and then we pulled out the last minute because it was just so buggy.
Yeah, and the
it was
first time we put it in, like we've had it in twice before, even the common prototype, we had a version of the wheelbarrow,
Yeah.
and it just caused so much like server havoc that we ended up just pulling out. But it was
Yeah.
used. A couple of people were asking what it was used for. It was used to just pile materials in. It was like a proto truck.
We didn't have a proper backpack at the moment, right?
Well, we didn't have a truck.
We
didn't have a
So-
truck, yeah.
That was the stepping stone to a truck, right? So, but, anyways, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, these are some cool. Some of them are not related to Foxhole. These are like some artillery that was done in a different game called From the Depths, and half track done from the. Elfkan is still doing some other things. He does it a lot in From the Depths, and then we have some other images underneath it that are not Foxhole related. Some of them by Drunk Russian Bear. I think it's just cool sometimes just showcase like the artistic capacities of our community, even though sometimes they are not related to Foxhole. It's just, it's cool. It's community highlights. Our community has cool stuff to highlight.
A lot of people are guessing what the next map is going to be, and I just want to say one of you is correct.
One of them?
One of
Like
them
what
is
they
correct.
say.
They're
They
just
said pretty much everything.
guessing different ideas for the next map.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, should we jump in
We
and start
can
talking
jump
about
in.
that?
One of you guys are right. That's
Yeah.
all I'm going to
Oh
say.
yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
All right. So why don't I just start with like playing one of the videos?
Sure.
Sure,
Is
yeah.
that cool?
Just start with the video.
Although there's gonna be a spoiler on like the file name of the video, unfortunately, because we don't have your fancy setup, Matt.
Yeah,
but-
whatever. That's fine. Just do it. It's too late now.
So I will play this one first.
So
Explain to me
hopefully
what
you
this
can-
is about, because
you can
actually I'm
move
not
it.
sure.
This is kind of cool. This was done at the last minute.
Yeah.
Just a little preview.
Um,
It's still highly work in progress, but anyways, I'll let you talk about it.
I mean, I'll just let the video come to
Okay.
speak for itself for a minute.
So is that like a lighthouse?
Yeah, that's a
That was
lighthouse.
not a leading question at all.
That's a lighthouse.
Is that grass?
So-
is that
So this isn't to say, I just want to get something perfectly out of the way. This isn't to say we're implementing boats or anything. Like, this is just a map that takes place on a shore.
Saving Private Ryan? There's gonna be a beach landing. No. I'm
Do you wanna just play the video again?
Yes, I will.
While we kind of talk over it. So basically, the map that's a work in progress. It's still heavily work in progress. So anything you see can be totally changed by the time it comes out. But the general theme is like a like maritime shore sort of concept. So it's kind of a cold shipping area that would have been used to kind of like send boats in and out of like this canal. But now lots of time has passed. Maybe the water level's changed. Maybe things have happened. So there are lots of bridges and river. It's kind of like a riverlands with lots of bridges, and there's a big shore on the east side, and there's an island connected by multiple bridges that's totally separate from the mainland that has towns to capture, and the lighthouse is near one of them. So you could probably show the other video as well.
Yeah, that one's shorter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the canal town. So there's going to be a lot of stuff kind of like this with like rivers and bridges, and this was more of like a place where probably the wardens would have used it as like a main hub for shipping and receiving, and they would have sent it out from here. There's like an opening just outside of the camera. There's like an opening, and they would have had lots of docks and stuff there, and that's sort of the general theme. But strategically, you're going to have to do a lot of choke points, a lot of bottlenecks. But there's multiple of them, but you can kind of control the flow of supplies in and out because it's not a big open space.
Right.
But it is open, but there are bottlenecks. So it's kind of like where Callan's Passage is like a lot of straight lines kind of going off in this different directions. This one is not just like straight lines, but there are bottlenecks that you have to contend with, which I think makes it kind of interesting.
And like in reference to the larger world, did you already talk about like?
No, so this is to the east of Deadlands. Now I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, well, on the map, there's no sea by the by the east of Deadlands. But we are gonna change the geography and stuff. That map was an early map. I think as we kind of plan the world and we plan things are gonna change. So I kind of expect there to be like a big like Mediterranean Sea style place to the east of Deadlands. Sorry.
Right.
To the west, there is still an ocean, but we're kind of expanding the geography.
So I'm gonna pull up the rough map that we did on the tabletop to do the planning.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can walk through that a bit. Oh, this is kind of a cool.
So this is
beach
one
out
of
the shore.
this is one of the bridges, right? So this is a land bridge that connects one of the towns to the lighthouse, which is a town called the World's End Beacon. So that town is connected on an island. It's totally separate from the mainland, and there's another town that's along with it. And this bridge connects two towns, and it's kind of going to be a very dangerous area because you've nowhere to go. If you run into conflict there, you have to fight.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard to get away, and I think it'll be interesting to see how people block it, because you could totally block this, and then you guys will have to figure out a way around. But there is obviously the shore and stuff, so it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how it kind of plays out.
Yeah, I think I guess I'll pull this up.
Yeah, you can pull it
Yeah.
up. So this is the general layout.
Very very rough, kind of early version.
Yeah, so it's not. This isn't to say this is exactly what it's going to look like, because already things have been tweaked a little bit.
It's gonna look like a tabletop.
It's gonna look like a tabletop. But this is sort of the general how you can expect like the town layout and stuff.
Right.
If you have anything to say,
Well, like, are we expecting that these roads they're gonna connect to the Deadlands to the west, right?
Yes, yeah. So this is directly connected, like the river in Deadlands on the east side, which I don't know if is totally visible right now because of the walls in the way. But as soon as we maybe bring out the walls a little bit, you'll be able to see that the river splits off, and this is a little ways to the east. It kind of like
the large map you
meet
can see
here.
it.
So these rivers are a continuation of what we see in the Deadlands.
Yeah. So the rivers actually, I believe they flow from the sea into the mainland, with the exception of the North River, which flows down into the sea. So this is kind of how the geography works. And the geography to the north will go up to the east of Callan's Passage, and to the south is to the east of Heartlands.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. So if you were to think about all those 6 zones, it would be like a grid of like
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Like a 3 vertical by 2
Yeah, by 2.
Horizontal.
horizontal.
Yeah. So this river is. These rivers are directly linked to the one that's in Deadlands, and Deadlands comes from the sea here. So this is kind of like if you just followed the river, you'd get here.
Cool. What is next here? Is there anything else we want to talk about with the map, or are we pretty good?
I don't know. I don't really think there's too much. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be a lot really interesting to see how you guys use it.
Well, like
I
you
think
were,
there's a lot of strategic.
one of the interesting things was like you were saying how you were kind of like waiting to build like a nautical theme map since the start of the project. So
I will say
this is a little bit of a fun thing for Matt.
This is very much like up my alley. I'm very into like the ocean, and I like nautical themed things. I don't know what that means, but I'm like really into pirates and all that shit. So
it's gonna be pirates confirmed, guys.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But so like I'm planning on, you know, this is really really fun for me. So I'm not gonna say expect Easter eggs or anything, but there might be 1 or 2 hidden in this map.
Cool. I guess we'll move on to the concept art then. Oh no! Before I do that, I really want to quickly talk about this. This is a cool feature we've been working on HB.
Yeah.
This is not for longtime players. It's not a huge feature or anything. But a couple weeks ago, we got together and so during the pre-alpha, we don't really want to work on too many like tutorial-like things or first-time user experience sort of features, but we were starting to feel that like new players, and we're saying like people who literally drop into the game for the first time, who don't know anything about it, can be really frustrating. And there's I think at least a percentage of the poor like behavior it is caused not because someone wants to do something bad, but because they just don't know what is good and bad. Because if you jump into the average game,
can I actually interrupt you 1 sec? The chat is freaking out. Just so you guys know, this was prototype UI from a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
this is an old screenshot. So
what you guys are
ignore the inventory, ignore the.
They
gun,
just ignored everything I said, didn't they?
Probably because they were looking at the.
They're seeing berries and stuff like.
so-
Sorry, this is on me because I use.
This is
when
a
I was
really
when I was
really
doing
old
yeah
screenshot.
sorry when I was doing this, Mark wanted me to just prototype a little UI for the feature that he was trying to explain,
I didn't want to. Sorry.
and I end up using like some old Photoshop files that I had that were already set up because I had to do it a little bit quickly.
This was like super early.
This was from
So-
our art prototype.
Yeah, so don't worry about the berries on the inventory and the top left and things like that.
Yeah.
Sorry guys.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry, Mark. Go on.
I totally forgot.
Oh,
Okay.
You were talking about when
Yes,
players when
yes.
they just enter the game,
Right,
a
so-
lot of them don't
Right.
understand what's the concept and what's
Exactly,
going on.
because a simple example is that if you jump into like Battlefield and you see like a vehicle, well, you will jump into that vehicle and you start using it.
Yeah, so there's no
how can we
consequence to
expect
that.
someone to jump into Foxhole and know that maybe you shouldn't do that? Maybe you should ask. So we're working on a couple of first-time user experience things, like at least letting players know that like it's a team game and things in the world may like belong to someone else,
Yeah.
even though you have the freedom to use it or take it. Whereas most games, sort of like if you can take something, you should. But in Foxhole, it's kind of unique in the sense that if you can take something, it doesn't mean that you should. So these little small things that we want to try to communicate to like the new users, we've just been working on a couple of things like this. Explaining to players that you don't need like 99 clips of ammo. I think another thing we are actually going to do with the ammo at some point, besides letting users know that they might not need that much, is also changing the icon, because we found it's really misleading. A lot of people think that the stack size of your ammo is the actual number of bullets that you have,
Yeah.
right? So people will be like, oh, I need 99 bullets. I want to take a stack of 99 rifle ammo. So it's a very, very common problem. You know, be mindful. Stop building sandbags on the road. Little things like that might not be very, very obvious to a new player. Well, okay, I guess that's the end of that. Well, we'll transition straight into the concept.
That's a segue. Anyway, so I guess just to kind of recap what was going on there, we're going to put in some more like first-time user experience messages that might help it to be a little bit more friendly in explaining the type of game that they've gotten themselves into, as opposed to just like a solo game that you would be able to just do whatever you want, take whatever you want, that type of thing. Be like to try to encourage more teamwork and thinking about like other people in the team.
Yeah, it's like getting some. I think a lot of it is getting people to change their paradigms to the Foxhole paradigm, because the Foxhole paradigm is quite different from the average game that you jump into, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool. So, jump into concept art.
Yep.
So we have some more concept art to show you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think over the past couple weeks, one of the things that Julian has been working on is some concept art of the environment. So I know he's done a couple of pieces that we're going to show of the existing map regions. This one is Calhan's Pass, which I think really captures the mood of that, both that area and of the game. And I like that little war ram thing. I think it's something that we've mentioned several times, but
we've talked about like kind of strange animal war pairings in the past.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's hard to justify working on those features right now, because it's a little bit of like an extra, right? It's not really core to the game, but it's something that we eventually maybe at least want to try. Right?
It would be like, I think it'd be treated like much like the weapons. It'd be like another type of tool that you can use, right? Like whether they're an AI or a vehicle, we don't really know exactly what they would be. We'd have to like. I think it's not only is it like a lot of time when it's totally not to the core of the experience, but we want, if we do it, we want to pull it off too. It's not just like we want to just put it in the game and there's broken animals like flail. Like that's not. Yeah. I think that's really important.
May
too.
I interject?
Yes.
I just saw a question from Kawi Satire. What the fuck is core?
Core.
Because we say, oh, it's not core for the game, it's not core part of the game, and it might not be.
I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, it might not be part like very clear.
So like we always use these terms and we get so used to using them, but a core feature is something that we believe that Foxhole wouldn't be Foxhole if it didn't have those core features, right? So it's kind of like the soul of the game, like the fundamental like building blocks of the game. For example, like the supply lines is part of the core of the game. You can't take, if you took away the aspect of a supply line, it wouldn't be Foxhole anymore, right? Mm-hmm. But whereas something like a shotgun might not necessarily be a core of the game. Yeah. It's a cool extra, it's a cool part of the game that we want to have, but if you took that away and you left everything there, it would still be Foxhole. So that's what we mean.
But if you didn't have guns, then there's a problem.
That's a problem too, because that's a core of the game. It wouldn't be Foxhole anymore.
But animals don't necessarily make or break the Foxhole experience. Like you could have, we currently have a game without animals. So I feel like
And now that we explained that, we have people saying that it is core and we should not. We should consider battle rams.
This is a Deadlands concept.
Yeah.
That I have actually never seen.
Well, like,
which is really cool to me.
Yeah.
The Deadlands. So the Deadlands, I think, is something that we've talked about, Matt. That at some point, probably not soon, but at some point in the future, we probably want to come back and like redesign some of it.
So Deadlands, to explain the process of Deadlands, because it may not be perfectly clear in its current iteration, but Deadlands was very much like a proving ground for the game, I think, in a lot of ways. So whenever we wanted to try to, especially me in particular, when I wanted to try to expand on the themes of the game, whether it's like having a new type of for lack of a better word, like a biome or a new level design idea or something like that, I would try it, and whenever we would expand Deadlands, so it became this sort of amalgamation of ideas that we could test and put out there for you guys and see how it goes, just see how it plays, right?
Yeah.
Now, we made the decision quite a while back to have more maps. Originally, we weren't going to have more maps, and we were going to expand it out into like a huge area.
Yeah.
So it kind of made sense to start changing the geography. But now that we have more maps, we can like focus. Like if you look at each of the maps we've made since then, they're very focused on one idea, as opposed to Deadlands, which has all these ideas. And I think we could improve that. I think Deadlands could be a much better map that's more thematically appropriate and like just narrows down on a really singular core idea.
Yeah.
That's my feeling. Anyway.
And like to like play into its sort of its concept with relation to the theme a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas a place that has been like fought over like so many times, right? It's like a location of
great importance,
great like historical significance for like both the factions, right? So that's something that in this concept it's kind of neat because it kind of like touches upon that a bit.
That
right?
it doesn't look like a happy, friendly place. It looks like a place that's been beaten down by war. And,
exactly.
Also, I really like that there's a train. I haven't seen this concept, so like this is new to me. But I really like there's a train because I did like interweave train tracks throughout like the whole level.
Yeah.
So like I really love the idea of maybe like this is totally like hearsay at this point. We haven't decided anything, but I love the idea of expanding that on the war torn, kind of beaten into the ground and potentially having like a significance through like rail lines. Because obviously, if you're going to have a major,
well, it's also like being once sort of like a very
great
center point of like the Warden Empire. It makes sense that there would be trains going through here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Force transition?
Yeah, so this is to the east, right?
Yeah, this would be to the east.
Yeah.
So to the east of Deadlands, you guys have seen it kind of in Deadlands. If you go up to the spine into that area, it kind of goes into like dense woods. And so to the east, in the geographically, that area moves into forest. And I think what Julian was trying to explore here is how the kind of like the fields kind of transition into woods.
This is more like southeast, or is this?
I think this is west.
Oh, this is west.
I think this is west. I might be wrong, but
right. This is connecting from the spine. Sorry, I got it wrong. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because
Cool. And I personally like this one a lot. This is like the Upper Heartlands, and I like it a lot because it shows a lot about this world in terms of like the mixture, like the people who are living in this world. They're very much like war is a part of their life. So it's kind of like no big deal if there would be like a civilian that just walks out the door and you see like a tank kind of being like dragged by a truck, or a gun turret, like literally like on your field, and it will be kind of like a no big deal type of thing. Like, okay, well, this is just the world that we're part of, right?
Yeah, and if there's someone like living at this farmhouse, they would walk out the door and just like probably wave. Like
exactly.
It probably wouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a key to the world of Foxhole, is just that like war is ever present. It is constant. If in the distance there was like clouds of smoke from battle happening like way out in the distance, that'd be probably not something that terrified people too much because they're used to it.
Cool.
Also, trees confirmed. You're gonna have trees.
Lots of stuff confirmed because we're showing confidence.
What'd you say? Trees?
Trees, because they're saying burn house and flags and also trees.
Cool. Do you want to move to the Q&A?
Yeah, we can move to the Q&A unless you guys have anything else you want to close off on.
Nope.
Sounds good. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to field them in the chat. There's one question that I'm gonna close this while Mark opens this. There's one question that we do want to answer at the very least that we got a while ago. So we're gonna start with that. So start asking questions.
Are we gonna leave on this
one here?
Are we gonna leave on this screen?
No, we just need to ask this one.
So I noticed on the map of the entire world of Foxhole that there's a place called the Ash Fields and the East and West Bulwark. Can we expect to see those areas as playable maps in the future?
That was asked by Lurkus.
Yeah.
It's a really good question.
I think like that's an area. If there is almost one area of that world map map that we had originally that we almost want to explore. It would be down south, right? Like
Yeah,
we
I
want to explore that area.
I think that world map we're using is sort of like just a guide, but not like a Bible, if that makes sense. So like it was mostly a brainstorming tool to come up with ideas for how the world might look. And I think one of the, like, I think the ash fields, like in my mind, this was like a gray, just like completely just like dusted. It looks like it's snow, but it's ash. Like this place is just completely blown apart. There's nothing can grow there. That was sort of my my idea for that, but that was just an idea. I'm not necessarily going to say that that will end up in the game. However, I think the bulwark has become a really integral part of kind of like our history and lore. So I would say, not as a guarantee, because I will never guarantee, but I would say maybe expect to see the bulwark in at least one map.
I think we would want to see it.
Yeah,
right?
I kind of
think we
see
really
it.
want to see it. Whereas like in contrast, like some areas of like further north of like Callahan's Passage as an example would be neat, but you know,
Yeah.
not as we're not as interested, right? In seeing that
Yeah, there's
realized in the map, right?
There's some really cool stuff, but like we'll probably do another exploration in the future because like I said with this map with the Endless Shore, like this was a map that did not exist. This was a part of the map that did not exist until we came up with the idea to do it.
Yeah.
So it's all going to be based on, like, as we build the lore, things might change too, because we're always working on kind of like refining the world, and we have a history, we have like all this stuff, and we want to draw on that as much as we can. So anyway, I'm going to go to the next question. How connected will the maps work in game? Will there be campaign style warfare like in Red Orchestra 2? And this comes from Shaf CML.
Yeah, no.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's a part of the game that we're kind of like pretty much like that's the focus on what we're working on in the next month or two, and we'll probably talk about it more, I'd imagine, on maybe like the next stream. So I don't want to get into it too much because we're still finalizing how it's going to work, and I don't want to say too much about it right now, and then we're going to have to change it. But I guess what I can say is that we want the world to feel like one giant, like, connected world.
Yeah.
That's ultimately our goal, and there are some things that may prevent us from having that. One would be like a technical issue.
Yeah.
I think there is maybe a low to medium level of risk there to make that happen. Another one is there's like a game design risk too. I think that's a lot higher of a risk because there's a lot of problems to solve there with respect to like what happens if you were to just have a giant war and just kind of go and let everyone loose in it. You know, what will happen when you transition between zones? Those are the kind of like higher risk items. But
And also, how do players? How are they going to interact with the entrances and exits? Are they openly available? Like, there's so many things there. And also, like, I think originally we would have liked all of the maps to be one big map, but that obviously presents a lot of different technical issues. Like, server sizes can only be so big, and so therefore the map can only be so big to support that. But I think we want it to be as organic as possible.
Yes, we want it to be as organic as possible, and if we could sort of like have our wish and there are no like technical problems, we would want it to just be like one giant world, and you can just kind of like go anywhere. So we're gonna try to get as close as we can to that experience.
But we gotta
it's kind of
be realistic and think about technical limitations.
Yeah, exactly. But our goal is to try to get as close as we can to that, and that's kind of all I can say for now.
The next question comes from Whiskers. Will melee weapons get added to the game at some time? Right now, people can't use a rifle for CQC, and the pistol kind of sucks at range, so we need something.
Yeah, sure. I think that the melee weapons was a bit of a hot topic at the beginning because we didn't want
combat to be focused on that. We didn't want all these like silly situations, like people running around trying to like use like knives against
each other.
They're just simply running towards you. You have a pistol and you have difficulty dealing with it. You just
That's exactly
shank you or
it.
something like that.
Like we
You
didn't
wanna
want the
avoid
game to be about that, so we were kind of a bit harsh on it at the beginning, and we kind of made it really clunky to like try to melee someone. But
which is really hard nowadays.
I think that like now that the game has evolved so much, it's an area that we can look back on maybe at some point, and revisit the idea of putting in like a melee weapon, as long as it doesn't take the focus away from the range combat. Ultimately, range combat is like the priority for the game, and probably will be. But the melee weapons, maybe we'll take a look at that again at some point. Not a really high priority, but
We always thought about the idea of just
Yeah.
being able to hit with your gun.
right.
If
But-
either pistol whipping or even using bayonets or something like that,
Yeah,
it was always
just-
something that it's in our mind, and we want to do it. We want to possibly, but it unfortunately it's lower priority right now.
Yeah, melee is a slightly low priority. The next question is from Crazy Flying Chicken. Going by the concept art and the amount you've talked about these new map concepts, can we expect a rapid release of new maps, similar to how we saw Upper Heartlands and Cowlands Passage coming out within a month of each other? The purpose behind these maps may be to combine them together into the strategic layer in the future.
2 questions then.
So it's 2 questions, but like kind of related. You can expect maps, but I don't think we're going to give like a specific timeline.
Yeah.
Maps are one of the harder things to like.
I think
get
it's
out.
also
Takes a
well,
while.
I think to kind of like try to answer that like question more like as clear as we can, you should expect to see quite a few more maps,
Yeah, of
right?
course,
So like we're
yeah.
not done yet.
Yeah, there's lots
It's sort of like
coming.
let's just make that part clear. There are going to be multiple maps coming in the future, and we are constantly working on it. I think one of the things that we've been realizing is that it's also been kind of harder and harder to make new maps because the game is getting more complex, and there's more things to think about when like designing the maps too. So like when we designed the Upper Heartlands, there wasn't quite I guess as many like there weren't as many like hard sort of like game design issues to think about with regards to like the layout of the town as much as there is now, because there's just simply more stuff that's happening in the game now.
With every map, it gets a little more.
It just gets
It
a little
gets a
bit
little trickier.
It just gets a little bit trickier.
Not to make them, not even to come up with ideas, just to make sure that they hit the same quality bar, because I think that's very important to me, and I know that's very important to.
And also
the game in general.
On like the technical side, there's more things to worry about. We literally have to like spend more time making the maps because there's more features in the game. So like Matt has to take the time to make sure that we basically have like a checklist of things we got to worry about when we make a new map. And when we made the Upper Heartlands, we didn't even have a list because we could just say like, oh, we just have to make sure there's spawn points, there's this and there's that in the map, and we'd be done. But as we start working on maps, we realized that like we need a checklist because there's so many little things that
Even with the checklist, we do it and then we find out like in dev branch.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like
Yeah.
all these things are broken. We have to go back, and it's just kind of like.
and our process even has changed at the beginning. Like we would just kind of make things, but you know,
I think it's
more
also-
recently we've had to do a lot more like play tests,
Yeah.
kind of like internally, like even at a very like early stage when there's really not a lot of stuff in the map. We would sit down, we'll sit down and like play through like a build of the map, and we'll sort of like go through that cycle at least a few times. But even before that, there's planning on paper, there's planning. It's just, anyways, long story short, I'm gonna stop talking about this.
Maps
is that
are complicated.
maps are getting more complicated, but you should expect more.
Not only that, for every map we make, every time we add a new feature, we then have to go back and double check on all the maps. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's this cascading thing. So it is eventually going to come to a point where
Yeah.
we have to spend more time just testing in order to
Mhm.
release a new feature. So we have to be careful with what we do when we do. But expect more maps. We're planning more maps. This is not the last one.
Yeah.
Is the best I can say. Dondergod, you guys have stated that there will be changes to the resource management system. Is there anything more you can tell us about that?
Yeah, actually, no, I think this is a good point, and I actually wanted to talk about this when we were talking about the features. Um, there is a plan, and we are working on it. I actually wanted to include some stuff in the devlog this week for that, but it's just not quite ready yet to like talk about. But definitely the biggest things on our list is resources and production. With resources, what we want to do is we want to basically make it so that the players who are playing that part of the game have more of a progression to look forward to, so that they're not sort of just hammering away at this salvage at the beginning of the game, and then like 3 days later playing the same war, they're still doing the same hammering. We want changes so that in a couple of days maybe they're doing something else, or maybe they're something that's kind of
at least change the way they interact with that part of the game.
yeah, to make it more exciting. And with regards to the production, that's one of the things that like I'm really looking forward to, and I also think that the changes we're making to the production is going to be one of those things that is going to rock the boat a lot.
It's going to be very controversial.
It's going to be very, yeah, it's going to be very controversial. It is going to be one of those things that, like, you know, it could be like a disaster.
So it's going to be a love or hate thing at first.
Yeah, but the general philosophy that we want the new production system to be is, rather than having the armory, which we're no longer going to call the armory, it's going to be called like a weapons factory or something like that, is we don't want that to feel like a gun shop. Right now it feels like a gun shop. Like,
it's not that guy in Resident Evil 4, like, what are you buying? Like, that's not what it's supposed to be.
Which makes sense because it looks like a
right,
rundown
but
shack. So
right now everybody treats it like that, so you end up with like 20 guys all waiting in front of the armory trying to purchase their pack of 5 rifles, only to throw out 4 of the 5 rifles, use 1, and then, you know, at the same time someone else might just go in there and like throw in some like pistol ammo, and then you block the whole queue. So we want it to feel less like a gun shop and more like a part of a pipeline, right? And we also another part of it is that we want to make sure that the output of the weapons factory is less like beneficial for a single person, and
more
it should
towards the team.
It should always help the team, right? It should never be like it spits out a rifle, one guy can take it, or even 5 rifles, one guy can take the rifle and go off and use it. It should be like it spits out something, and then that thing can then be used for like the benefit of a large number of people. Maybe not the whole faction, but at least a group, right?
Yeah.
It should always be helping a group. So that's
like, I think as much as possible we want to not 100% eliminate, but to discourage solo play. Like, we want the game to be about cooperating as a team, playing as a team, working as an army. Like, you guys are working for the same goal. So like, instead of just like running off and like gung-hoing with a pistol,
I think at the end of the day, like, we want to make the game in such a way where there's not a whole lot of things that you can really do for yourself, right? But there's a whole lot of things you can do for your faction.
Exactly.
Or at least like your little squad or something, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's
like
sort of the
at
general
the smallest
direction.
level, it could be like 2 people, but at the largest level, it could be like 650, 60
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Next question that I want to get an answer to is from Duke Salt. Are you guys willing to talk about past experiments with the salvage system? What ideas you want to explore in the future? I feel like we kind of talked a little
Yeah,
bit.
we can talk
I'm not asking for anything set in stone, just different solutions we've considered.
We kind of talked about that.
Well, we had before. We had things that we just found on the ground and stuff like that. We've been through those iterations.
We have. In fact, in one iteration, we did have like, you go into the woods and
Literally
there's
just
like
collect,
there's piles of wood, and you gotta chop the wood, and you gotta combine, like a rifle would need wood and like metal.
Yeah.
We
And
also
you're literally
Right.
We also had I think that in the past we had a moment in which we had them being auto-generated, right? If I'm not mistaken, like when the boxes and stuff like that.
That must be way back.
Yeah.
It's kind of hazy.
So we've been through a few
Yeah.
iterations.
So
Which doesn't mean that we are not gonna come back to them if we
There
don't
is-
think it fits the game. But
There is one thing really important I want to say about like the lessons learned that both when we did those experiments and recently when we were thinking about the salvage system again. In both cases, we came to the same sort of conclusion: is that we're not making like Minecraft, right? The game is not about like you going out and collecting, you know,
I'm so sorry. Can you
all these. Oh shoot!
can you turn to black for a second?
Yeah.
Excuse us for a second. If no, it won't.
Just keep going, Mark.
It's
Yeah, keep it
Windows
going.
10 trying to restart us, but
Oh.
like it's basically the game is not Minecraft. We're not aiming to have this crazy like crafting system where you need like cloth and all the stuff and you put together and you craft something new. The focus is less on that and more on the supply line, your production chain, and keeping that machine in motion and being able to keep your supply lines secure, right? Like being able to like build up your fortification. That's the focus. It's not about like, it's not a go and collect tons of resources style of game. So
Yeah.
that's sort of the same conclusion. That's a conclusion we had like many months ago, and that's kind of the same conclusion that we have right now, right?
Yeah, the big thing before is it would just be like you'd spend all your time just running to get different resources and be like, oh, we need metal, oh, we need wood, oh, we need whatever, we have to bring it back to this place. And I think one of the big things that worked really well when we did implement the current salvage system, of course it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it did help to establish the entire point of that whole system was a supply line.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so
exactly.
when you have all these other things like as big of a fan as we are of games like Rust and Stardew Valley and all that stuff, like that is all about resource management. That's not what Foxhole is.
Exactly.
So we didn't want it to be all about like that. I think that's really important.
That's a really good point.
I can't remember who it was now. I've kind of lost the question, but someone asked, do we plan to implement a stealth system? There kind of is a stealth system if you think about it, because if you're not in line of sight, you can't be seen. So if you hide in the bushes, you can't be seen. If you're not in their line of sight, you can't be seen. So technically, like while there's not an official like magical like, oh, you're invisible if you hide behind a wall, you kind of actually are already.
So,
So
unless you're talking about something
Yeah.
else, just like explain your question and then we'll be able to answer better.
yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, stealth is in the game. You just have to be
Utilize
wary.
what
You
is
just have to
already
be
in
wary
game.
of line of sight
Yeah.
because we do make characters invisible when they're not seen. So maybe you mean some indication of like how visible you are, but
I'm
feel
not
like,
sure exactly what he's
Yeah.
asking, to be honest. He or she.
Whiskers has another question. Do you plan to add extended injury, aka if you get shot and actually have the effects of getting shot, not only bleeding, which doesn't affect your speed or kills you slowly, same things with names and RPGs, maybe sound effects that deafen you, and dirt that splashes your screen. So if you get shot, maybe like you can't really, you have like less aim because your arm's been shot, so it's kind of like you have wobbly aim,
Or you will limp.
or
We
you
had limp
limp and you're
before.
slower, like not just bleeding, which kills you, but like other effects,
Right.
like crippled.
Like as you guys know, we did at some point consider the possibility of like your character enters like an injured state and they have to go to a hospital to be able to clear that state, but we haven't gone back and explored that yet. We're trying to we ultimately want your death to be kind of a scary thing, right? Like we ultimately want you to value your life, and that's why we wanted to think about the possibility of having those mechanics, but it's kind of a balance between that and making it not like so hard that you can't even play the game
Yeah.
normally. Like the bleeding, we were also worried about that, and it needs some work, but it's not too bad, right? But so with regards to doing more of it, I think we would consider doing more of it, as long as there's sort of a way for players to be smart about it and be able to avoid these sorts of situations if they're using the right strategy, right? If we didn't provide any way for someone to prevent themselves from being in that situation, and we just kind of put that in to make it more punishing, I think that's a bit harder to do, right?
Mhm.
So
I think that's going to wrap it up for today. So thank you guys so much for all the patience today and dealing
Yeah.
with black screens and waiting and text Q&As.
We're
and
sorry. We'll try to
com-
have it fixed up for the next time.
our computer literally had a meltdown. Like we'd use the same one for every stream, and suddenly, actually it was a Windows update. So that update is like
Let's blame Windows.
the final straw of the whole thing. It was running in the background and just eating the computer. So hopefully next week it'll be back to normal. Sorry,
Or next
guys.
week.
Or next
yeah.
week, next stream.
2 weeks from now, same time, supposedly.
So have a good week, have a good weekend, have a good war.
Yeah, thank you for showing up again as always. Thank you for being there and playing the game and helping us out with suggestions and bug.
Good
relates.
So good weekend, good war, I guess.
Well.
There's the sign off.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye
See you guys.
everybody.